what we see in the book of Mark is in the intro, he quotes Isaiah and says, "Hey, there's one who's coming to prepare the way for Yahweh." And then he immediately goes into John the Baptist preparing the way for Jesus. And then throughout the book of Mark, what Mark is going to do is show the things that Jesus did and why he's God. So Jesus walks on the water. Well, to the Old Testament Jews, who's the one who can walk on the water? Just Yahweh. He does it in Job 9. He's the one who can tread the seas, right? Jesus has the ability to calm the wind and the waves, right? Obviously, that seems like a godlike attribute just in general to be able to control the weather. But it's significant because in the Old Testament, it was the idea that the sea represented chaos, and the only one who had the power to bring order to chaos is Yahweh, right? He's the only one who could control the sea. So what does Jesus do? He looks at the wind and the waves. He says, "Hey, chill out," right? And it stops. Jesus is Lord of the Sabbath, right? Like, so you just see as you're working through the Gospels, he comes across the demon possessed man, and the demons recognize who he is, and he's like, "Stop, right? Don't say this about me." And so Alex, even in the argument, I just didn't get to press in on it. He said it in some different things where he tries to say, "Oh, Jesus was walking around claiming to be God." I don't think that he's doing it explicitly very often. I think the John 8:58 is a rare occurrence that Jesus is not explicitly saying it all the time. He's implicitly doing things and implicitly saying it a lot, which I just think if you look at what's happening as a whole, makes a lot more sense. So I don't know if that's helpful, but
it's an interesting side note, actually, and it would be interesting to unpack sort of the Gospels and their background. So we know that Mark was written first, John was written last, Luke was a companion to Paul, and Matthew was written for a very Jewish audience. Could you give a bit more depth? Because that will be the sort of knowledge of the average churchgoer of that background, but there's no real depth. So you just laid out there why Mark was deliberately putting in certain instances to show. As a whole picture, you could just take one or you could take them all. Could you add more color and depth of the Gospels and their background?
I've been locked in on Mark lately, as you can tell. And so Luke, is an easy one, I guess, because he makes it clear in the intro who he's writing to. He's writing to the wise Theophilus. And so he's writing Luke and Acts to seemingly a person. And so this person was probably some type of someone who is in high authority, and for whatever reason, whether this person was already a Christian or maybe interested about the things of Jesus, Luke tells us that he's trying to put together an orderly account for Theophilus in order to get a good understanding of who Jesus was, the things that he did in his life, and then also just the growth of the early church. And so Luke is unique in that it's seemingly he's only writing to a person. And so Matthew is really cool. And, a lot of people, I think, would it seems to be that it's primarily to a Jewish audience because of how he is